Chapter 12. Henry. As Henry rode into town the next morning, he couldn't help but see the commotion on the far side of town. The new store was open. Though he knew he shouldn't, as it would only make him stress more, he had to see it for himself. He tied his horse at his store and then continued there on foot. Harold Thompson stood outside the front of the store, beaming at everyone who passed by. His smile shifted into a smug grin when he caught sight of Henry.
"Coming to see the competition, are you?"
"We don't have to be competition," Henry said, hoping he sounded more confident than he felt.
"I don't think you'll be competition for long anyway," Harold said. "Go on, take a look around to see what you could have been if you'd had the money."
Henry ignored the jab and stepped into the store. The first thing he noticed was the smell. It was the earthy smell of fresh wood, but that made sense as it was newly constructed. Though pleasing, Henry knew it wouldn't last long. But the openness? That was something that wouldn't change unless the new owner filled it with more items. And Henry had to admit that the open feel was welcoming. Not only that, but there was a stove in one corner that would heat the store in the winter and be a place for people to congregate. Why hadn't he thought of something like that?
"She's a beauty, isn't she?"
Henry turned to find a man with a thick red beard and copper hair standing next to him. He had to be the owner of the store, as Henry didn't recognize him, but he seemed so young. Although Henry supposed he had looked that way once when he'd taken the store over from his father.
"Yes, you've done some good work here," Henry said begrudgingly.
He might not like Harold, or the fact that he'd financed this man, but he had nothing against the man himself, and the store was nice.
"I don't think we've been introduced. I'm Charles Jones."
The man held out his hand for a proper shake, and Henry reluctantly took it.
"Henry Brown."
Charles's eyes widened and he dropped Henry's hand.
"As in the general store owner?"
Henry nodded.
"Well, I can't say I was expecting to see you here, though I suppose you would want to keep an eye on the competition." "That's not why I'm here, really," Henry began. "I saw the commotion when I came in this morning, and I just wanted to see the finished product." "Feel free to look around," Charles said. "I have nothing to hide. When you have the better product, that's all you need."
He flashed a triumphant smile before moseying over to another customer. Okay, now Henry had a reason to dislike the man. He turned and exited the store, trying to keep his anger at bay. Though Harold yelled something at him as he left, Henry refused to engage. He would be the bigger man and take his issues to God instead of taking them out on the men who were trying to ruin him. When he reached his store, Mrs. Baxter and Miss Lockwood were waiting outside, as he'd never given either of them a key. "Mr. Brown, are you okay?" Mrs. Baxter asked, as he pulled out his key and shoved it into the lock.
"I'm fine,"
he grumbled as he pushed open the door. "You're certainly not fine," she said, following him into the store. "Now what is going on?"
"It's the new store on the other end of town. They opened today, and Harold was right. I can't compete with him, and the owner seems just as willing to see my store close as Harold does."
"That's awful," Miss Lockwood said. "Why would anyone want to do that?"
"Because Harold thinks I stole Maggie from him years ago and he's never gotten over it."
The two women exchanged looks. "Yes, Mrs. Thompson mentioned something about that the other day," Mrs. Baxter said.
"Mrs. Thompson? Was that who the fancy fabric was for? I should have known, although I'm surprised she was willing to work with you considering your shop is in my store."
"I suppose it's lucky I'm the only seamstress in town," Mrs. Baxter said softly. But we would like to hear the story from you if you're up for it.
Henry sighed and leaned against the counter. There isn't much to the story. Harold and I were friends growing up. Maggie arrived when we were both teenagers. When she started working in the store, we fell for each other. She tried to explain to Harold that it wasn't my fault, but he didn't want to hear it. He swore I bewitched her or something, and he's hated me ever since. I went to see him about a loan to expand the store, but he denied me, and now that he's financing the owner of the new store, I don't know how I'm going to compete.
You're going to do what you've always done, Mrs. Baxter said. You're going to be friendly and caring and welcoming to everyone, and the people will still come.
Of course I will, but you haven't seen the new store. It's so open, and he has a stove where people can congregate.
Then let's do that for you, Miss Lockwood said. Back in Chicago, there was a store that had a community board. People could post ads and read about what was happening in the town. We could help move some of the merchandise around and set up something similar for you here. You've got the room.
Do you think that will be enough? Henry asked, looking around the store. He supposed there were some things that could be moved, and if the catalog thing worked out, there were items he could stop carrying in the store.
It will be a start, Miss Lockwood said, and we'll do everything we can to help you, won't we, Elizabeth?
Mrs. Baxter nodded.
Of course we will. You've been so kind to let me have my dress shop here. I'll do whatever you need, and I'm sure I could get Carl to help too.
Henry looked from one woman to the next, and then around his store again. He might not have the money to update it completely, but with Carl's and the women's help, he could make some changes, and maybe that would be enough. Okay, let's get started,